Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, golly gee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was really feeling that one.
Oh,
yeah, you did
so
good.
good.
So good. I'm Kenyon.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm Lucy, and I'm just saying right now I am getting over a horrible cold, and I got a throat situation. So
And she's had a COVID test, and she is waiting for her results, and she is staying home in the meantime.
I'm also
But
vaccinated.
It's probably a cold.
It's probably a cold.
I'm Amanda. I have my period, and that comes with everything you could imagine.
And it's no fun.
She's not cute.
Yeah, but not a video episode. So.
God bless that mess.
Also, not a fan pick episode.
No.
Because our very special fan picker is us.
Yes.
Ha 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 ha.
We're special. We're the Mary.
We're the Mary. And we have selected the topic of weird weapons.
I love it. I can't wait for Lucy's segment on this.
Oh my God. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, don't get too excited because I wrote it in a fever haze.
Yes, those are the best ones.
Right? Cat, that's what gave us cats and wigs.
Yeah, I don't want you to always be ill, but the episodes where you do your notes while ill are really
Yeah,
quite
while
great.
on like Dayquil are pretty
Right.
great.
They're good.
So, before we get to that, what is our wine crime pairing for weird weapons?
Y'all, I splurged this month
Ooh.
because this wine was too perfect. So I am drinking the 2018 weapon of choice, Robert Clay Cab Sauv.
Look at us go with an on-spot pairing.
Take a look at me now. I am super pumped about this Cabernet because it's not traditional. This is a winery.
Cool cab.
It is a cool cab in its own way. This is a winery out of Texas, specifically the Texas High Plains Viticultural Appellation. It is a lower ABV Cab Sauv at 11.32%. And this is not the like robust Napa Cab that you're used to. It's actually in even a differently shaped bottle. Usually you'll see Cabernets in like the cylindrical, like straight bottles. And this is in what would typically be a Pinot Noir bottle and seems to drink a little more like a Pinot Noir. It's a little bit lighter bodied. It has like a little bit of cherry note to it. And it's very ageable. So I'm almost like sad that I'm drinking it now because I'd be curious. But that means I'll just have to get another bottle of the same vintage
Poor you.
and age. I know. Poor me. What a terrible life I lead. So yeah, this is apparently a little bit more of a nod to like an old school cab that was not meant to be as robust. And this is a little bit more delicate. Like I said, it's going to drink a little bit more like a Pinot Noir. So I'm very excited to
that
try
sounds
it out.
delish.
It's aged in neutral barrels, so you're also not going to get a whole lot of influence from the oak or the barrel, the type that they use. Neutral barrels are not the same as stainless or cement, so I'm not 100% sure what they use, but I'm very curious about it. It's also a popper, so you're going to want to scurry over and get your nice pop wine key from our online store at wineandcrimepodcast.bigcartel.com.
Along with all the other goodies you can get there.
So
We
many
are-
goodies.
We're currently out of wine keys, and we have been for a little while because the manufacturer keeps pushing their restock date back, though, so they're just like lying to us at this point. There, I said.
Well, and so many places have been just like devastated by COVID.
Right.
Yeah. So we
that's
feel
tough.
bad about our wine key availability right now. We're working on it though.
Right. But we got other merch items, so go get
Yeah,
them.
exactly. All right. Well, like I said, she's a popper. So should we jimmy this motherfucker open?
Do it.
Do it.
So classy. All right.
Oh.
Dramatic.
That's a good pop.
Yeah.
A weapon of a pop.
Oh, yeah.
Combustible.
Combustible.
Well, while that's ringing in our ears, Lucy, what is our background and maybe psych for weird weapons?
Oh, weird weapons.
Well, I've talked about weapons. I think it was in our MO episode. I don't know. I've talked about why people choose certain weapons and how it kind of comes down to being unorganized versus disorganized killer in a lot of ways. So an organized killer will bring their own weapons because they've thought it's like premeditated. They've thought about this. They've planned for it. Versus unorganized, they might just find something at the scene to do their dirty deeds. So today, I wanted to sort of give a very, very top-down overview of weapons and their classifications.
Okay.
So there are several different types of weapons. So I'm going to go through the types and then tell you a little bit about a few from each type, the few that I had questions about personally.
All
and
right.
this is almost entirely from various Encyclopedia Britannica articles.
Your boyfriend.
My lover,
Your boy.
my buff.
Your hot boy. Hot, wet boy.
Don't make me boy.
I'm on the brink of boyfing. Okay, first we have artillery. So this includes anti-aircraft guns, cannons, and by the way, something like a cannon can be put into different categories. So they're not like set in these categories. They're a little flexible based on how they're being used.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a type of weapon called Big Bertha. Of course, I had to tell you about this one. So this gun was designed and built under great secrecy by the firm Krupp, which was Germany's largest armaments manufacturer in the years before World War I, for the sole purpose of overcoming modern Belgian and French forts built of reinforced concrete.
Is that the same company that makes like coffee
No.
accoutrement? Okay, thank God. Not
Oh, that's Krupp's with one P and an S.
okay.
Got it.
Okay.
You can keep drinking that coffee.
Okay. I was like, do I need to get a new coffee grinder?
The
Fuck
panic
me.
in your voice.
Not an armaments manufacturer
All right.
from the early 20th
This
century.
time.
I know. I mean, a lot of like car companies, a lot of companies,
There's crossover for
yeah,
sure.
have bad World War II shit, but just
Not
checking.
this one. Not this one.
Okay.
Keep buying your Krupps.
All right.
Officer Krupgate.
Are you a war criminal?
Oh no. Oh God.
So at the time of their construction, the Big Berthas were the largest, most powerful mobile artillery pieces in use by any army. This gun could fire projectiles weighing up to 1,785 pounds to a distance of almost 6 miles.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Too
Yeah.
much.
Big
What?
Bertha's scary. The most widely used type of shell was equipped with a delayed action fuse that exploded after having penetrated up to 40 feet of concrete and or earth. So
no.
fucking yikes.
I don't like it.
Nothing to like about that. Couple other examples of artillery are the French 75, yum, and the German
I was
88.
gonna say, wait a minute.
Yeah, French 75, great cocktail. German 88, lesser known cocktail.
We gotta invent that though.
It should have been our pairing.
A German 88,
God.
sir.
Ew. Okay, also mortar and I didn't know what mortar actually is. So
As a brick and mortar store in Flushing, Queens.
no, almost.
Knew it.
Mortar is a portable, short-barreled, muzzle-loading artillery piece that fires explosive projectiles at low velocities, short ranges, and high arcing trajectories. The weapon is contrasted with larger artillery pieces which fire at high velocities, long ranges, and low direct trajectories. So they're just like mini versions of some of these of like Big Bertha, like a way mini version of a Big Bertha.
Okay,
Wow,
that
but-
actually, I'm glad that you looked that up because as much as I've like read about mortars and, whatever, could not have told you what the fuck that was besides like a weapon
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little more cannon. Yep.
Soup's cash cannon.
Got it.
Next, we have biological weaponry. That includes anthrax, plague, love that,
Oh,
Q fever, and no, it has nothing to do with QAnon.
I'm
Not yet.
So excited.
Not yet. It's gonna. Soon as
probably
this
will.
gets out.
Q fever spreads rapidly in cows, sheep, and goats, and in humans, it tends to occur in localized outbreaks. The clinical symptoms are those of fever, chills, severe headache, and pneumonia. The disease is usually mild and complications are rare.
Okay.
So it's not like that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Q fever was first recognized in 1935 in Queensland, Australia by Edward Holbrook Derrick. According to him, Q stands for query, which was an appellation applied because of the many unanswered questions posed by the new disease at the time of its first description.
Interesting.
So,
Maybe you've got Q fever.
Oh, that's a
I
Q fever I can get behind. Actually, I can't. I shouldn't have said that.
don't have a headache and I don't have pneumonia. I just have an awful lot of phlegm in my face.
Got it.
We also have ricin, and we've all seen Breaking Bad, so we get it.
I think we also probably talked about it at length in the biocrimes.
I think we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Smallpox, which the three of us live in the U.S. We're aware of the history of smallpox being used as a
Atrocities.
biological weapon.
Literal genocide.
And there's yellow rain, not to be confused with purple rain
Or urine.
Oh no.
or a golden shower.
What
Yeah,
the
what
fuck
is
is
yellow
yellow
rain?
rain? Is it
Do I
is it
wanna know?
Agent Orange?
Nope.
It's Agent Yellow.
After the communist victories in Southeast Asia in 1975, the new regimes in Vietnam and Laos launched pacification campaigns against the Hmong tribes in northern Laos who had assisted the former non-communist governments and their principal ally, the United States. That summer, refugees began to report that Laotian aircraft were dropping an oily yellow liquid that made a sound like rain when it fell on roofs, roads, or leaves, or what the Hmong called yellow rain.
Oh no.
High dose exposure to this substance reportedly caused symptoms such as bleeding from the nose and gums, tremors, seizures, blindness, and in some cases, death.
Oh my God.
Further reports surfaced of similar experiences by Khmer tribes in Cambodia in 1978 and by anti-Soviet resistance fighters in Afghanistan in 1979.
Wow.
So from watching movies just like those movies about like the Vietnam War, I think I personally got Agent Orange and Yellow Rain confused.
Well, it sounds like
They're very similar
it's
almost.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're biological weapons, chemical weapons dropped from airplanes in wartime on civilian populations.
Well, these are biological weapons. I think Agent Orange would be a chemical weapon.
Okay.
Got it.
So they're two different categories, and we're getting to chemical weapons right now.
All right.
Okay, chemical weaponry. The first one we have is Adamsite, and it's sneeze gas.
Ooh, it just
Oh.
makes you sneeze?
It appears as a yellow smoke that irritates eyes, lungs, and mucous membranes, which is hard to say when you have disrupted mucous membranes.
Why do they do
The
that
call
to
is
us?
coming from inside the house.
The membrane.
inside the sinuses.
Yeah.
And causes sneezing, vomiting, and acute discomfort in the nose, throat, and chest. I hear that. Eventually, severe nausea develops with headache, general physical weakness, and despondency.
Ooh. Wait a minute. Do I have this?
Yeah.
I feel regularly despondent.
That's a weekly occurrence.
Yeah.
Like, some of these things wouldn't be enough to, like, kill an army, but it would sure knock them down, you know?
It would
Yeah.
slow them down for sure.
Which is really all you need to do from a tactical standpoint is get an advantage.
Yep, exactly. Then we have diphosgene and phosgene, which we discussed in the criminal disasters episode.
I was
when
going to
I
say
was
that
talking
sounds
about.
remarkably recent and familiar.
So that was one of the leakages at the Bhopal plant before the big one.
So that has a practical use, but when it is misused or leaked accidentally into the atmosphere, it can kill people pretty
Yeah.
instantly.
Ugh.
So I would guess based on that, then phosgene and diphosgene has some sort of application for like like pesticides and insecticides. Which makes sense because it kills people.
Right.
Right.
We have hydrogen cyanide. We had a whole episode about cyanide, I think.
Sure did.
We have lewisite. Lewisite blisters the skin and irritates the lungs. Any part of the body that is contacted by the liquid or vapor suffers inflammation, burns, and tissue destruction. Lewisite was developed in retaliation for German gas attacks during World War I, but it was never actually used. It was in the process of manufacture when the armistice was signed.
Oh, great.
Thank God.
So it hasn't, as far as we know, it hasn't been used in wartime, but it exists.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Just one
Well,
more
I don't know
arrow
that.
in our quiver.
Yeah.
I don't
great.
know. I don't know that it hasn't been used. It was a longer entry, but I skipped over a lot of that. And nerve gas and tear gas are also examples of chemical weapons.
Cool.
Then we have combat weapons, and these are split up into two different subcategories. The first is ranged weapons. So one example of this is, I like this, is called a bola, and bola is Spanish for balls.
Oh, so not Ebola.
Not like Ebola.
No,
Right.
bola.
Okay.
So bola is usually a group of 3 balls attached by a long rope, and you throw it perpendicular to the ground at the legs of your prey to capture them.
Oh, I've seen that.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's like a skip it, but it kills you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it traps you at least.
It's a
yeah.
deadly skip
A
it.
yes, actually.
It's
That's a very apt metaphor. Yes.
It's a skip it that's actually designed to break your ankles instead of just really hurting your ankles.
Instead of accidentally breaking your
instead of your
ankles.
confidence.
Why did they let us play with that shit?
The 90s were really bonkers.
it was the
Attach this-
Wild West.
Attach this plastic
was.
thing with a counter to your ankle and just go jump for however long.
Yeah.
Like, just stay out of my way.
Yeah,
I
you
can't.
got a lot of energy. Just go get it out in the driveway.
Please leave.
I think those things, they
Go
were like,
trip near cars.
yeah.
those things were that were like a skateboard, but it had 4 wheels and it was like for your knees. It was like a square of plastic with 4 wheels underneath.
Yeah.
And you just scooted around the gym on them.
Yes, I was
Oh,
going to say
yeah.
they only had them in gym class.
Yeah, and they were
Little
great for like
carts.
getting out your energy, but oh my God, you get your finger stuck in those wheels one time, you're never touching it again.
Oh,
We were
yeah.
on those and playing, what's the one where you just jack balls at people's face? Dodgeball. We were playing like a version of dodgeball on those scooters in the gym.
No.
And
Oh, yeah.
Blad Blitterson chucked a ball at my face and like nearly broke my nose, and I've never
Poor
forgiven
Blad.
him.
Well, fortunately, he is either an avid listener of this show or does not even remember we exist.
Probably the latter.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I can picture 4th grade Blad Blitterson in
So clearly in
perfect
your mind's
detail.
eye.
I know. Yeah, it was. I'm
Perfect
sure it was
detail.
4th grade. I remember going and crying to Bleth Blocker about it.
Oh my god.
I love our
Hi, Bleth.
system.
I know.
I blessed him.
All right.
Okay,
Oh,
another
we're
ranged
so
weapon.
good at anonymity. We could work for the government. I can't believe they haven't called us yet. I can't believe they have not
The
processed
government
my
hasn't
application
called us
for the government.
Oh my god. Okay, another ranged weapon is a boomerang.
Ooh.
Still don't fucking. I mean,
Like, could we not?
yeah. It's just I don't.
Could
get it.
we just not with the boomerangs?
It's so Australian. I can't. Like hunting kangaroos with boomerangs.
I mean, it's very cool technology, like indigenous technology.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
It's just like so bizarre.
It's very
Who
beyond
the fuck
my
came up with
understanding.
this?
Yeah.
We have bow and arrow, which includes a crossbow and a longbow.
Very interesting technology for sure.
Medieval. Muy medieval.
Grape shot, which is like,
That sounds sexual in nature.
I think it's like a lot of like little tiny rocks.
yeah, it's like a lot of little rocks. It's like a shotgun, but not like a shotgun. It's like a lot of little rocks, like Kenyon said.
It's going to just shoot a bunch of little shrapnel in you.
We got a flamethrower, a Greek fire, which is incendiary materials applied to things like arrows. So
Oh, yeah.
every war scene in Game of Thrones has Greek fire. A sling, a spear, and a spear thrower. And then we also have hand-to-hand combat weapons. So we got a bayonet, a club, a dagger, a halberd. I put a picture of this on the drive because I didn't understand it from just this explanation. So if you
Sounds
wanna look
like
on the drive.
very Viking.
Yeah.
Very Viking. So a halberd consists of an axe blade balanced by a pick with an elongated pike head at the end of the staff. It was usually about 5 to 6 feet long. The halberd was an important weapon in Middle Europe from the 14th through the 16th centuries. It enabled a foot soldier to contend with an armored man on horseback. The pike head was used to keep the horseman at a distance, and the axe blade could strike a heavy cleaving blow to finish the opponent.
I love a cleaving blow.
Oh, God. Can you even imagine? I just cannot imagine, like, running with, like, maybe some armor, maybe not even any fucking armor, just running at a
To your
wall
death.
of men with fucking
I can't
blades.
imagine running. So the answer to your question is no. I can't even imagine.
Ugh.
I think
Like,
the
just-
mindsets of people in these times had to be so fucking dramatically different from anything we can even wrap our heads around.
Right?
Like your day-to-day life is so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Everything reeks.
You're on the food chain.
You're on the food chain. If you're a soldier, you're
much.
basically just like, oh, do I die today or next week? Oh, whatever.
right, or of
Whatever.
infection when
Right.
I can survive war and then
And then still die,
Die
a
a slow
horrible
death. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
No
I'm
thanks.
I'm good.
good. I'm good.
We got a lance, a pike, a quarterstaff, a saber, a sword, or a tomahawk. So I would say like edged weapons, like we talked about in one of Kenyon's recent cases. What was that kid that was just surrounded by edged weapons?
Yeah.
Oh, it was in Drunk Dumbasses. Wasn't that the Keith guy?
Oh, I think
I
so.
don't
Your
remember
cousin
anything.
Keith.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's ringing a vague bell. My own case.
Listen, people, you text or message us all the time. Like, what was that thing that you said that we forget everything immediately?
The only reason I remember that is because I had to write the synopsis for it recently, and I scrolled down to that case, and I had put someone named Keith in the synopsis.
You did.
There you go. Nice. Kiev.
Kiev.
Kill me, I'm Irish.
Kiev me now. Explosives, which are also divided into 4 subcategories, the first of which is bombs. So we got a depth charge or a depth bomb. These explode at certain depths of water to attack submarines. The depth charge rarely explodes close enough to sink the submarine, but its shock waves loosen the submarine's joints and damage its instruments, thus forcing it to the surface where it could be finished off by naval gunfire.
I know I just said I never remember anything, but that's the bomb that like rolled off of that blimp that crashed in my Unsolved Mysteries episode.
That's right.
And it just like rolled away on land and nobody was really freaking out about it. And I was like, why not? And it's like, oh, it's a depth charge bomb. It can't go off unless it's like submerged
Okay.
Yeah.
to
All
a
right.
certain degree.
But if it's just fallen off a blimp, it might be worth checking.
Tracking
Maybe some
down.
concern.
Yeah.
I mean, they did. They did. But
But like
I
I
was like,
wouldn't
the-
necessarily trust it
no,
after
the
it's gone
sense of
through that.
urgency was lacking in that situation. But it was also like the 40s. What else are you going to do but run outside and look at that blimp slowly crashing into a neighborhood?
Oh, I would have absolutely gone and taken a looky-loo.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
Midwest dads that run outside when they hear the
tornado siren.
alarm.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, oh, sky's turning green.
Yeah. Oh, look at it. Oh gosh.
Oh,
Better-
yeah, right there. It's a fennel farming.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I did as that derecho was approaching last summer.
Oh, I
Oh yeah.
believe it.
You are a Midwest dad at heart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was on my porch until Corey and I got slapped across the face with a gust of wind. And like human
rude.
nature, like survival instinct took over, and Corey shoved me inside, and we grabbed the cats and ran downstairs. I was like, oh my God. Not many times in my life I have feared for my safety that way.
Or
but
my
that was one of
cats.
those days. Yeah. All right, next we have a dirty bomb. These explode from simple explosive materials like TNT, but are designed to scatter radioactive material.
Oh God, that's what a dirty
wow.
bomb is. I did not know that either.
Designed to scatter radioactive. That's maniacal.
It's like a poor man's atomic bomb.
That is horrifying. Hey.
I didn't know what that was either, but it's fucking gross. Grenades, IEDs, or improvised explosive devices, mines, and shrapnel fall under the category of bombs. Then we have explosive substances like TNT, RDX, PETN. I don't know what any of those stand for, whatever. We all get it.
They
They explode. Then we have missiles. So this includes ballistic missiles like torpedoes, etc., a rocket-propelled, self-guided strategic weapons system that follows a ballistic trajectory to deliver a payload from its launch site to a predetermined target. Ballistic missiles can carry conventional high explosives as well as biological, chemical, or nuclear munitions.
Cool.
And then cruise missiles are slower and lower than a ballistic missile. They're like, again, kind of a more chill missile.
okay.
I'm just thinking of that country song
Chill missile.
with like I think Nelly and like Florida Georgia line. Cruise. Okay, anyway.
I don't know that
Maybe you're a
song.
missile. You make me want to roll my
My
windows
windows
down
down
and cruise. Oh my God.
It's a
Chill
little more
missile will
cash
be the
missile.
next hit from Florida Georgia Line.
Oh, yeah.
Mark my words.
I kind of like the term chill missile.
Okay.
And then rockets. Just rockets.
Boring.
Yeah. Next, we come to nuclear weapons.
Great.
Nuclear.
Great.
Nuclear. We have thermonuclear bombs. Didn't go into the description of that. I feel like it's kind of self-explanatory. Atomic bombs, which results from the sudden release of energy upon the splitting or fission of the nuclei of a heavy element such as plutonium or uranium. So these are accompanied by a massive fucking explosion, often resulting in a chain reaction consuming nearly all fissionable materials.
Cool.
So atomic bombs the stronger they are, the stronger they can become, if that makes sense.
Yep. Damn.
Chain reaction. Very scary.
Uh-huh.
Kind of on the other end of that, neutron bombs are a
Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, it's not that cute, but
Oh, God.
a smaller
Well, I mean,
bomb.
Jimmy Neutron is not cute.
It's a smaller bomb also made of plutonium or uranium, producing minimal blast and heat, but releasing large amounts of lethal neutron and gamma radiation that is extremely destructive to living tissue. So if we're comparing neutron bombs versus atomic bombs, if the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, the atomic bomb, was 15 kilotons, a neutron bomb might only be 1 kiloton.
But cause the same damage.
It's just a different type of damage. But yeah, so the blast radius for a neutron bomb maybe only a few hundred meters, but the actual area affected by the resultant radiation can be thousands and thousands of square meters.
Wow.
Oh my God. Why are humans?
I
Right?
don't know. It's really fucking gross. And we have weapons of mass destruction, which I think, I don't know. I didn't look into that either. It
I
just
feel
it gave me flashbacks to debate, and I
I
wasn't
know.
in the headspace for that.
I think a lot of things can be classified as weapons of mass destruction. So, like nuclear weapons, also biological and chemical weapons, like a lot of different things. It's not like there's something called a weapon of mass destruction.
And
It's
that's
like
only one thing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like a category of things.
Right. And like I said about the example of cannons, it depends on how these different things are used, would kind of put them into different categories. So I think they just put WMDs under this category because it, just
Yeah.
if any weapon could be classified as a WMD, then it would fit under this category of nuclear weapons.
I think when fucking the Bush administration and a lot of and the rest of fucking Congress went along with going into Iraq, I think we were looking for chemical weapons and then like other types of bombs, basically, that they were denying that they had.
Well, the
'Cause they didn't
uranium
have
and
them.
the uranium and the plutonium is what they were denying that they had, but they did have it. So they had the capabilities of making these huge weapons.
But they weren't actually making them.
Yeah, I don't fucking know. Next, we have siege weapons, and this includes battering rams, catapults, and, like I said, cannons, because cannons can also be used to just like overtake,
Right.
a fortress or whatever.
We just rewatched for the zillionth time Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Got to. It's a classic.
So, it's such a classic. I love it so much. Some great cannons and catapults in that film.
Great siege weapons and
Great
huge tracts of land.
What the cannons?
So good.
Okay, and last but not least, I have some other backup information for this. We have firearms. 3 different categories of firearms. Manual firearms, and these are the ones where you have to do something to cock the hammer or whatever just to get one shot.
So
You have
like
to
a
do-
bolt action rifle or like certain revolvers where you have to, like you said, cock the hammer to take any shot. They don't just fire rounds when you like repeatedly pull the trigger.
For example, air guns, blow guns, blunderbuss. I just included
Yes.
that because it's a funny word.
I fucking love a good blunderbuss.
A carbine, a Gatling gun, a handgun, which includes pistols or revolvers. We'll circle back to this. Harquebus, I don't know what that is. A musket, a rifle, or a shotgun. Again, I said I'll come back to this. So we have, those are manual firearms. We have semi-automatic firearms. So for these, you don't have to do anything. You can just pull the trigger to shoot one shot. And then you have automatic, aka fully automatic weapons. And that means you only have to hold down the trigger once and it will fire until the clip is empty. So this shit is very confusing to me. I am not a gun person. I had to ask Corey for what the fuck am I talking about?
I mean, I think that makes sense. Like for semi-automatic, you have to press the trigger for each round.
Uh-huh.
For manual, you have to both like cock the whatever and press the trigger
Right.
to shoot. So it's slower and more involved. And for the automatic, you like literally you could set it up so you're not even holding down you just have to hold down the trigger once and it just
could
keeps
tape it.
going.
Like the final scene in Breaking Bad.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Keep going back to Breaking Bad.
So those should not exist because they serve no fucking reasonable purpose in
Just
our society.
senseless violence.
Yep.
So I said I didn't grow up around guns except for my dad's trap shooting. He made me shoot some kind of shotgun or rifle, I don't even know, one time in my childhood, and he did not warn me about the recoil.
What?
That's just
So it hit my
just
shoulder.
amateur. Yeah,
bruised
that can
my
knock your
shoulder.
shoulder out of the socket.
I never went back.
Sure, he didn't warn you.
I was like 10. I don't fucking remember with detail, but I wasn't
Yeah.
prepared for it.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like Sean to not warn you about
Right.
that.
Maybe
it
you
does
weren't
seem
listening.
like Lucy to not listen.
I don't think there was like a huge amount of recoil. It was just a little bit of a kickback. So maybe he thought that I picked up on that from watching him.
Maybe.
Regardless, I didn't like
Yeah,
it, so I never
I
went
have
back.
theories. We have theories.
Amanda and I are flagging.
Like,
your
I mean-
recollection.
My point from 33 years ago, 23 years
you
ago,
were 10. You're 43.
is that I never fired a shotgun or a rifle since then. But I have
Fair.
fired handguns at a range, and I actually really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I fired something, I don't know what, when I was like 12 with my godfather. And it was fun, but,
Going to the gun range is super fun.
you
You
know,
can do that.
With
I
someone
still-
who knows what the fuck they're doing.
right. But I still think that having a little bit of fun or having a hobby is not worth all the fucking risks to society. So bye-bye.
So I had a lot of questions still about guns, specifically like handguns. So I did some more Googling, and I found this helpful information from, of all places, PBS.
Who knew that PBS was informative?
Love BBS.
So caliber, we talked about this kind of recently. Caliber is used to describe the diameter of a bullet. So in the United States, caliber is generally given in inches, with 1.0 equaling 1 inch. So other handgun calibers include a 22, a .22, a 25, a 38, and a 45.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't know that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so all of those have the decimal in front of them, so they're that much
Right.
of an inch. is
Right.
what
We
you're
just don't
Yeah.
say 0.22.
Because that sounds dumb and not
Right.
cool.
Right.
Right. Cool.
So going back to the difference between automatic and semi-automatic guns, a semi-automatic weapon fires one shot every time the trigger is pulled. An automatic weapon fires continually until the trigger is released like a machine gun. So what is the difference between a pistol and a revolver? Both a pistol and a revolver are handguns. A revolver contains a revolving cylinder in which the bullets are loaded. Revolvers usually hold 6 shots.
They're also prettier.
Okay.
The ATF defines a pistol as any handgun that does not contain its ammunition in a revolving cylinder. Most pistols have a removable magazine into which the bullets are loaded. So the magazine is then inserted into the hollow hand grip of the gun. So those are the ones you
Oh.
like push up through the bottom of the gun.
It looks like kind of like a Pez dispenser.
Exactly.
So
So
a
tho-
deadly Pez dispenser.
so that's usually a pistol.
That makes pistol Pez dispenser. I'll remember
Pistol
that
Pez.
now. Pistol Pez. Okay.
And a revolver has that revolving chamber, which should
Yeah.
have been obvious to me, but it wasn't.
Right. I just never took the time to think about it. Okay. I'm learning so much.
Well, good. I'm glad you learned because that is my segment, and I'm going to be
Ooh.
silent for the rest of this fucking episode.
Do your
Poor
thing.
little throat.
Recover. Drink some tea.
I'm going to go get some more ice water during this ad break.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay.
Y'all, we've said it before. We'll say it again. It's 2021. Nobody has time for uncomfortable shoes. They're a thing of the past, especially after what we've all collectively been through. And that is where Rothy's comes in. And Rothy's has literally surveyed thousands of customers, and the number one word used to describe their shoes is comfortable. So if you don't believe us, believe the thousands of people. And it's the best time of the year because fall is in the air. The heat is leaving us. We're getting into the cute, crisp scarf weather, jacket weather. And there's no better way to welcome the season than with new shoes like Rothy's best-selling flats, loafers, and sneakers. I also have like the cute little ankle boots. They are amazing.
I'm so jealous of your ankle boots.
They're stunning. So from cool flats to sneakers made for any adventure, Rothy's has everything you need to start fall on the right foot. See what they did there? Plus, their spacious washable bags, which I also have, are perfect for effortlessly carrying your essentials. If you're like me, I just carry 1,000 things all the time.
Oh, all summer long, I've been rocking the saddlebag, and I get compliments on it constantly. Like, we've said that about the shoes before, but even the bags, everything is so stinking cute. They're just got really clean lines, really fun colors. And for their shoes anyway, they come out with new colors and patterns all of the time. It's real good.
Yeah.
And great news for anyone listening who might prefer men's shoes. Rothy's shoes aren't just for women's shoes anymore.
They're for everybody. They're for men, they're for women, they're for everything in between and outside of it.
Everything. And Rothy's now sells men's sneakers and men's driving loafers. I've seen them.
They're so
They
cute. Yeah.
Rothy's men's line features the same level of craftsmanship as Rothy's women's line. Durable, washable, and better for the planet, plus rigorously tested for a perfect fit wash after wash. So I don't know about any of your partners out there, but my big boy's got some stinky feet. So
Oh, yeah.
especially with these driving loafers, if they don't want to wear them with socks, which is so comfortable, but also maybe get a little stank down there, and you can just throw them in the washing machine. It's unbelievable. So who better to tell you about how comfortable Rothy's are than real customers like Amanda said. Lisa L says, these shoes are like walking on clouds. And Julie A says, there's no break-in period, no blisters, just pure comfort. So it's no wonder that Rothy's best-selling shoe, which is the Point in Black, I think we all have that, has over 5,000 near-perfect reviews and counting.
I'm down a toenail and I wore my Rothy's loafers all day today at like a 7-hour film shoot and did not feel a single ounce of foot pain. So
That cloud comment is real.
yeah. So to help you welcome the fall season in style, Rothy's is doing something special. That's right. They gave us the chance to share this super rare opportunity with our listeners for a limited time. So right now, you can get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/gals. That's ROTHYS.com/gals, GALS. One more time, head to rothys.com/gals to find your new favorites today and treat your feet.
Trade them.
Have you ever wondered if you could pull off just wearing your bed comforter all day?
Yes,
Yes.
more than once.
Yes, and have tried it. Then this loungewear launch from Brooklinen is the socially acceptable equivalent of wearable duvet days, and I couldn't be more thrilled. The same coziness of your Sunday morning snooze now comes in tees, tanks, joggers, and more. And yes, there are sweatpants too.
Oh, these are game changers. First of
Yeah.
all, I've loved Brooklinen just from their sheets, and then they came out with like towels and bathroom stuff, and now they have loungewear, and honestly, they're on a roll because
Yeah.
every single rollout has been better than the last.
Yeah.
So Brooklinen has been listening to what we all need most, and they responded with ultra comfy loungewear at a very fair price. This loungewear has classic cuts and no zippers.
Get out of here,
None.
zippers. Get out of here.
So they're comfortable enough to wear to bed, but also cute enough to wear during the day. Run into the store, doing what you gotta do. Zoom meetings. So for limitless comfort that you can pull off in real life, so you can luxuriate in coziness all day. Sign me up. I love those words. Bonus points, Brooklinen offers bundled deals on loungewear so you can get more comfort for less money. And if you're looking for more ways to enhance your comfort, check out Brooklinen's candles. Eye masks.
They're so nice.
And I'm an eye mask gal, so I'm fully on board with the eye masks. And other accessories to properly celebrate your chill. There's a reason why Brooklinen has over 75,000 5-star reviews and counting.
That is amazing. I have been like living in my sweats and my Brooklinen tee. They're so soft and amazing.
And like their sheets, they get softer every time you wash them. I
Yes.
don't know how they do it. But
You
it's
don't
amazing.
ruin them in the laundry. I don't either. It's literal sorcery and I'm here for it. So go on, get comfortable, and get it for less at Brooklinen. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code GALS to get $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter that promo code GALS, GALS, for $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. One more time, that's brooklinen.com, promo code GALS, and treat your comfort.
Trade it.
Are we ready for my case?
I mean, never, but also let's do it.
I don't have a fan picker that I can blame.
Yeah, this is on you now.
This one's on me. It is very dark, but also a wild ride. And also there's lots of homophobia. Just you're warned.
Okay.
Great.
All
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, never fun.
No.
Nothing we talk about though is ever fun.
No. We're not here to
Not
have
when you're in charge.
We're
How
not
many
here to-
podcasts
we're
is
not
it
here to have
for
fun.
fun?
No.
Like, what? No.
All right. So Jose Ramon Gil Samaniego, better known by his stage name later as Ramon Navarro, was born on February 6th, 1899 in Durango City in northern Mexico. He was one of 13 children.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Oh, Catholics.
His father was a dentist and his mother was the daughter of a wealthy landowner, so they were a prominent and well-respected family with ties to government officials.
Okay.
They were doing pretty good, besides her hoo-ha, which must have been sore.
Oh, poor gal.
Their family estate in Durango City was known as the Garden of Eden,
Wow.
like colloquially.
Colloquially.
And the childhoods of the Navarro children were by all accounts idyllic. But then in 1913, following the upheaval of the Mexican Revolution, which I know almost nothing about, the family made the decision to leave their home and move to Los Angeles. So basically, like, they had been at the top of the heap, then there was the revolution, and they were like, oh, shit,
Bye-bye.
this might not work out for us. We're getting the hell out of here.
Got it.
So they moved to LA. A few years later, at 18 years old, Ramon began acting in bit parts in Hollywood movies.
Oh, wow.
And so at this point, it's still silent movies. The first talkie came out in 1927.
Which is 10
I know.
years
I know.
after my grandmother was
I was literally going to say
born.
cue Grandma Helen timeline.
It's just how I gauge every milestone
Yeah.
in history.
Yeah. And 2 years before my grandfather was born.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
Your grandmother could have babysat my grandfather.
And they have. I don't know. There's no way to. Just kidding. My grandmother never fucking babysat.
Probably babysat her own kids.
I mean, agreed. And kid. There
So-
could only be one.
So 2 of Ramon's second cousins, Dolores Del Rio and Andrea Palma, also began acting around this time and would go on to become major film stars. So acting was like kind of in the family genes to have like
Cool.
3 people in the family go on to be like actual big stars. Pretty interesting. So it was also around this time that Ramon adopted the last name Navarro, believing that it would get him more roles than the more difficult for white people to pronounce Samaniego. In addition to acting, he also worked as a singing waiter to support himself, which,
Ooh.
Sounds like a nightmare, but
yeah, I was going to say is probably very triggering for Amanda.
That is deeply
I've been-
upsetting.
I've been to a restaurant where they're all singers.
Oh, no.
It was in Cedar Falls, too.
Oh, no.
Oh, honey.
I mean,
It
I'm
was
pretty sure every
really
waiter in LA
uncomfortable.
today probably can sing and dance, but like,
They're
we
too
don't
cool
make
for that.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, no. This was really deeply
Strap on these
uncomfortable.
roller skates.
Yeah. Unless it's at Rainforest Cafe and it's just the happy birthday song. So soon Ramon received his big break playing the lead in a swashbuckling romance called Scaramouche.
Yes. Can you do the fandango?
Literally, yes. Okay.
Thunderbolts of lightning. Very, very frightening.
By the mid-1920s, Navarro was a bona fide movie star, under contract with MGM with leading roles in epic dramas such as Ben-Hur.
Wow.
Ooh.
And we're talking about the original Ben-Hur, black and white, not the even sweatier and oranger remake that happened later. At the peak of his success, he was earning about $100,000 per film, which,
Dang, that's a lot of money.
according to Time Money Converter, my side piece, would be over 1.5 million today.
Fuck yeah.
Per film?
Get
Per film.
it.
Get it.
And they cranked out movies back then. Like you would
yeah.
it would not be uncommon to do like 10 movies in a year.
Oh, there's nothing else to do.
Right. So this allowed him to invest in real estate, most notably a Hollywood Hills mansion that was designed by Lloyd Wright, the son of Frank Lloyd Wright,
Dang.
which sent me down a Frank Lloyd Wright rabbit hole. And I definitely thought that he happened later than he happened
Next time you come to Iowa, we can do a tour.
of that house.
He's got a lot of houses in
Oh, yeah.
Iowa.
And
Yeah.
just across the Midwest.
So when Hollywood transitioned from silent movies to talkies, Navarro continued to work, but his massive celebrity slowly faded as new stars emerged as masters of this new medium, which is what we fear every day happening to podcasts.
Yeah, we're holding on by a thread here, people.
I cannot do anything else. Please keep listening to podcasts.
Well, now that we have our video episodes, we've kind of gone from talkies to sees.
To viewies.
To viewies. Oh, no. I know, but it's way more work.
To Nickelodeons.
We create a box where you have to go up to it and put in a nickel to watch our show.
Oh, my God. I love it.
Patreon's over. This is the way of the future.
We got a brick and mortar.
A brick and mortar Nickelodeon box.
So in 1935, when Navarro's contract with MGM was up, they opted not to renew it. So he fell fast. Basically, he had like a huge decade, and then his career was almost over, which has got to be hard to cope with. So in the following decades, he continued to act occasionally, mostly in small roles. But because of his early financial success and investments, he was able to continue to live comfortably, even as he ceased to be in high demand as an actor. So he still had money because he was pretty good with his money. Throughout his career, however, Navarro struggled with alcoholism, which was likely exacerbated by difficulties of being a gay man in the early decades of Hollywood when it was
Not a thing.
definitely not publicly widely accepted. I think there were pockets of people that he could be open with, but yeah.
Sure.
Not like on the daily.
No, not as part of like his brand or identity or even like with the law. So it is possible that his drinking also contributed to the decline of his career as a romantic lead, because one source noted that, quote, most likely because of alcohol abuse, Navarro aged rather rapidly.
Yeah.
And it was all about, I mean, he was talented, but it was also like mainly about his looks. And if you go on the drive There are photos of him, and he is real handsome.
A beaut. Yeah, he's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Yeah. He's actually kind of become known as, quote unquote, according to some, like the first gay icon. But like, obviously, there can never be like a first gay icon because gay people have always existed. But like, some people consider him to be an early gay icon.
He is a fucking fox. I can't stop looking at him.
Oh, yeah. So, out of necessity, Navarro was secretive about his relationships with men, and he also had conflicted feelings just himself about his sexuality because of his Roman Catholic upbringing and the time period. So, that probably didn't help the alcohol abuse to have those feelings of inner turmoil and having to hide who you are. He had a few long-term romantic relationships. One was with a wealthy philanthropist named Reginald Noel Sullivan.
Wow.
Wow.
Reginald Poofda.
And another with a popular Hollywood journalist named Herbert Howe. I also have photos of them on the drive. Herbert is just fabulous. Do you see him in his suit?
Ooh.
He was a journalist.
Oh, my goodness.
He's so cute. His little shoes, his little black and white cookie shoes.
His pose.
I know.
Oh, what a cutie.
He is serving a lot of vibes right there.
I like that.
So while Navarro and Herbert were together, Howe would reportedly plant false stories about Navarro's romantic entanglements with various female stars to like help his boyfriend maintain his heterosexual heartthrob image.
Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah. So Navarro would also frequently hire male sex workers through an agency called Messrs. The Best to come to his home. By the mid-1960s, these sex workers, plus a man named Edward Weber, who Navarro employed as his secretary/personal assistant, seemed to really be his only real relationships at that point. Like, he had these two long-term monogamous relationships, and when they ended, he just was hiring sex workers and had a personal assistant that was with him all the time, and didn't seem to like have many close friends or partners beyond that. He was on a little bit of a downward slide. According to one source, quote, Navarro's last years were a dark downhill slide into alcoholism, drunk driving, and disastrous affairs.
Poor guy.
He was described as a, quote, male Norma Desmond, eager to recover his lost fame and forever dreaming of a spectacular comeback. And I didn't know who Norma Desmond was because I am a troglodyte. So I Googled her and I don't know why that was the first word that came to mind.
I'm going to go ahead and Google troglodyte
Did you mean
real
Luddite?
quick.
No,
Troglodyte?
that's a word. Does it just?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's like a caveman,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Someone who is deliberately ignorant or old-fashioned. I'm
A
deliberately
person
ignorant.
who lived in a cave is the
Yeah.
top. Got it. Yep.
Yeah. So I have never seen Sunset Boulevard or the original Ben-Hur. I've never seen any of these old movies.
Oh, I haven't either.
So Norma Desmond is in Sunset Boulevard, and there's a photo of her on the drive, and wowza, she's amazing and intense.
Wow. Oh.
Her face.
Yeah.
I feel like I make that face most days.
You do.
I think you should dress up as Norma Desmond for Halloween.
She's giving me really like sexy Frau Farbissina from fucking Austin Powers vibes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yes. Very tight face.
That's
Very
the face
tight.
I look when I ask Corey to take out the recycling.
For the 7th time.
Do it now.
Did you not hear me this morning?
Literally no. So this is where things get really sad and awful.
Yay.
In 1968, Navarro was contacted by two brothers, 22-year-old Paul Ferguson and 17-year-old Tommy Ferguson. They called Navarro and offered to come to his home to provide sexual services. So there are some varying reports about how exactly the Ferguson brothers came to know about him, because they contacted him. But the consensus seems to be that they didn't work for that masseuse agency, but they had a friend who did, and the friend told them about Navarro and then passed along the phone number, and so the brothers reached out.
I hate that.
I don't like where this is going.
No. Mm-mm. It seems that Paul Ferguson would somewhat regularly engage in sex work with men for money, and he had recently been trying to recruit his younger brother Tommy to do so as well. In his personal life, I know that Tommy dated women. I don't know about Paul. So for whatever reason, the brothers seemed to believe that Navarro had $5,000 in cash hidden somewhere in his house. They probably got that quote unquote fact from their friend who worked at the agency. Like, hey, this guy was a big star. He used to be really rich. He's got cash lying around. There's no evidence that this was actually the case.
It would just be so easy to lie
Oh,
and set someone up to be in a violent situation at that
Clearly.
time.
or to just spread a rumor.
Right.
Because you're like, hey, you'll never believe who I just,
Saw.
whatever. This guy was like a huge star in the old days.
And there's so much
And
secrecy
he-
around the gay community anyway. That
Right. Still in
Yeah,
1968.
that everything
yeah.
was probably whispers and exaggerated and half truths
Oh, absolutely.
anyway.
The brothers get this rumor that there's cash lying around and that this guy hires male sex workers, and so they offer their services. Navarro takes them up on it, invites them over, gives them his address. By this point, he had sold his Lloyd Wright mansion and was living in a smaller but still nice Spanish-style ranch house in Laurel Canyon. On the evening of October 30th, 1968, the brothers arrived at Navarro's home and he let them in. Once inside, it's believed that the trio got drunk together, possibly began fooling around. But at some point, the hustlers switched gears entirely and they viciously attacked Navarro, who was not expecting it.
I just feel like that was the plan from the
Yeah.
beginning.
It was.
There's something. Okay, yeah.
Oh, it was the plan from the beginning to steal from him. I think they just...
I mean to attack him in general.
Yeah, I think maybe they got him a little bit drunk first.
To make it
And-
easier, yeah.
Right. And then
For
when
sure.
he was a little less with it, then they could control him better.
Absolutely.
So it's really horrible, you guys. They beat and basically tortured him for hours, demanding that he reveal the whereabouts of this money that they believe to be in the house.
That he doesn't have there.
Yeah,
It's like, and then they just don't believe you.
Yeah.
right.
When you say it's not here. And then
But-
it just aggravates them more.
Yep. And everybody's been drinking.
Oh my God. What a nightmare.
But Ramon couldn't lead them to money that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the brothers left with only $20 that they'd found in one of his pockets.
Oh my God.
So Ramon Navarro died of asphyxiation. And that's because he actually, oh God, it's so horrible. He actually choked to death on his own blood
Oh my God.
as a result of this prolonged beating that
Wow.
he'd sustained. So then the next morning, when his assistant, Edward Weber, arrived for work at 8:30, he walked in and found the house in disarray, just like a fucking mess. And upon searching the house, he found his boss, Navarro, dead. And Navarro was lying nude on his bed, and his face had been severely beaten. And then scrawled on a mirror in the room with a brown makeup pencil was the phrase, and I'm going to modify it, but it was, "Us girls are better than F word slur." And also that slur is misspelled,
Of course.
of course. Which just makes it, I feel like at that point it's a compound
Right.
slur.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're being killed by bigoted, idiot bigots.
Yeah,
Not
dummy
just bigots.
bigots.
Just
Yeah.
fucking idiot bigots who can't even spell their bigotry properly.
Right. And also, are they trying to make it seem like this person was murdered by women?
Sounds like it.
Us girls? What the fuck? No one's gonna believe
It's
that.
not very well thought out.
No. Like maybe because it's in makeup pencil, they think that somebody will believe it, but like no one's going to believe that.
That's just stupid.
And also like Ramon could very easily have like owned.
Eyeliner. He's an actor, for fuck's
he's
sake.
an actor from the silent film era.
Bill has eyeliner.
He's worn a lot of eyeliner in his day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the assistant Weber immediately called the police, who arrived within minutes. And then, unfortunately, the police were also trailed immediately by news reporters and photographers who got wind of this.
No privacy, no dignity.
Yep.
Here it goes in the papers.
So a forensic report describing the crime scene read in part, quote, blood noted smeared on floor in bedroom, on ceiling, and tooth noted lying on floor at foot of bed.
Oh my God.
Decedent's hands were tied behind his back with brown electric cord. A white condom was found in decedent's right hand, and electric cord extended down and was tied around decedent's ankles. Lacerations and ecchymosis were noted on face and head.
What's ecchymosis?
I don't know. I didn't want to
I'm
know.
going to Google it.
Okay. Navarro's murder was a massive news story with headlines such as Ramon Navarro slain on coast, starred in silent film Ben-Hur, and Ramon Navarro silent film era star beaten to death.
Ecchymosis is like bruising. It's like bleeding under the skin.
Okay.
Like what happened to my toenail?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Lovely. So the police immediately focused their investigation on male sex workers, and this is probably because the assistant, Weber, was in charge of like calling that masseuse escort agency to arrange appointments.
So it was a lead.
It was a lead. He was like, look, like he doesn't hang out with that many people. He does hire a lot of sex workers, and he usually gets them from this
You mean the
agency.
cops didn't go after women?
Well, yeah. Right.
Us women?
Us
Just in general? The female population.
Yeah, it's also such a female type crime to just horribly beat someone and then write in makeup on the mirror. Okay. So Weber probably gave police this lead, and obviously this was like a fair lead to follow. When they started questioning known male sex workers, it wasn't long before Paul Ferguson's name came up in the interviews. So probably that friend who worked at the agency who had given Paul Navarro's information probably like cracked and said that he'd done that. Ultimately, though, it was Navarro's phone record that cracked the case. So investigators were able to trace a 48-minute call from Navarro's house on the night of the murder to a 19-year-old woman named Brenda Lee Metcalf who lived in Chicago. So
One of us women.
Oh, it was a woman.
It was the women.
No. Brenda Lee Metcalf is just such a name from this time period in Chicago.
Totally.
It was a long distance call, which is expensive at the time. So literally one of the attackers, either mid or post attack, I'm guessing post attack, decided to take the time to make an expensive phone call to his girlfriend in Chicago.
Good Lord, Ish. It's just like the disrespect from the very beginning until the bitter end.
So when Chicago police interviewed Brenda Lee, she told them that the call had been from her boyfriend of about 6 months, Tommy Ferguson, who was working to save money so that he could pay for her to join him in LA.
We got motive.
Yeah. So I don't know if they didn't realize they could trace calls in the 60s or if he was just particularly stupid.
I don't know.
He was 17, so. Paul and Tommy Ferguson were then arrested for the murder of Ramon Navarro. Their murder trials were lurid affairs with a strong focus on supposedly scandalous details relating to the victim's homosexuality. Tommy's defense lawyer argued that he had actually been asleep at the time of the murder, although this was contradicted by Tommy himself, who essentially confessed to the crime, saying, quote, he kept trying to put his fingers up my rectum. I started hitting him. I hit him again, and he hit the floor. He died of a broken nose, and I'm the one who busted it.
He didn't die of a broken nose.
No, he was tortured for
Yeah.
hours.
I mean, not that that's not possible. My grandfather's youngest brother literally died of a broken
It's
nose.
possible, but the way
When he was like 10, he got hit in the face with a baseball.
given
and
given
went
the
out on
context
baseball
of
field.
this statement, though, it's fucked up. It's
Oh,
super
exactly.
flippant and
And it's just, it's just not true.
Right. And also, he went there ostensibly to sell sex, and then he is like using
Yeah.
the victims.
Not that you can't assault a sex worker, but
Of course.
he is very clearly posturing himself as some sort of victim in a self-defense
Right.
situation.
It
And
was
that's just
honestly
not
like an
true.
early like gay panic attempt at a defense. But although Tommy claimed to have used only his fists to beat Navarro, police evidence introduced at trial stated that the primary murder weapon was a steel-tipped cane
Good Lord.
that the brothers had used to beat him to death. And I think that I think it belonged to Navarro. I think it was like in his home, not that they brought it with them, which would point to a disorganized killing. It can be premeditated but disorganized, which is these brothers' MO. Years later, and the reason why we're talking about this in this episode of Weird Weapons is because I accidentally misunderstood the assignment.
Love that. I mean, the cane is a little weird. So it
Cane
counts.
is a little weird. Steel-tipped cane, little weird. But the reason I found this case is because I was searching for something weirder and was misled by inaccurate reporting, and then didn't realize that was false reporting until I was too far gone down the rabbit
great.
hole.
I love it.
So years later, a salacious Hollywood tell-all called Hollywood Babylon, which there's a photo of the cover on the drive, and it basically just shows like,
Giving me New York Post vibes.
yeah, well, it's a
there's
book,
some areola.
But like,
yeah,
Oh, I
you
see
see a lot of nip of, I forget what actress that is, someone very pretty.
yeah. Dang, that is some nip.
So, Hollywood Babylon, this supposed Hollywood tell-all book, was made by avant-garde filmmaker Kenneth Anger, and he invented a yet more salacious claim that the murder weapon was a, quote, Art Deco dildo
Lock.
that had been
Wishes.
Art Deco
Audi-
dildo look like.
Well, that had been autographed and cast in lead and based on the penis of Rudolph Valentino, another silent film star.
Okay.
So this guy, this author, filmmaker, just
Lied.
invented this
Wow.
That's
This
really
elaborate
weird.
penis cast autographed dildo from Rudolph Valentino that he claimed Valentino had given to Navarro.
So bizarre.
Sadly, for civilization, no such dildo ever existed,
Oh.
Wow.
which has been pretty conclusively proved. It's not mentioned in any of the police reports or coroner's report. Friends of Ramon Navarro say that it never existed and that he didn't have a friendship or a relationship with Rudolph Valentino. And actually, they were like rivals for a lot of parts. So, like, he definitely would not have given him an autographed cast of his
Of
penis.
his own dong.
Where do people come up with this shit?
Right?
I mean,
Even the perpetrators, Paul and Tommy Ferguson, say it didn't exist. So it didn't exist. And in fact, that book, Hollywood Babylon, was so full of false stories that the New York Times wrote upon its 1975 re-release, quote, if a book such as this can be said to have charm, it lies in the fact that here is a book without one single redeeming merit.
Oh, ouch.
wow.
So
Wait, will you read that one more time?
It's pretty
That's really fucking good.
if a book such as this can be said to have charm, it lies in the fact that here is a book without one single redeeming merit.
I want that to be my epitaph.
Without
Just re-
one
just-
single redeeming merit.
Just change the word book with woman.
With broad.
Broad. Oh, wow.
That is really harsh.
Brilliant.
I love it. That's the real reason Kenyon
glorious.
chose this case.
I would get it.
Love it. I
support
love
it.
a sick burn.
Love a scathing
I love
review.
a wordy
You
burn.
do. A really editorial burn.
So, despite repeated attempts by Hollywood historians over the years to debunk Hollywood Babylon, which is just a pile of nonsense, the story of Navarro being killed by a dildo nonetheless endured as an urban legend. It's not true.
Yeah. Also, I want to start a podcast called Debunking Babylon.
Ooh, I like that. If we had any connection to Hollywood, we could
I know,
do that.
right?
All right, trademark. We might find someone that can do that.
Just saying trademark. is our
Trademark.
thing. That's our kink.
Yeah.
Trademark.
I
Okay,
declare bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy.
I am officially starting the trademark process by yelling trademark. So, the defense lawyer at Paul Ferguson's trial also invoked Rudolph Valentino in a lengthy and bizarre statement in which he blamed the victim for his own death, saying, quote, "Back in the days of Valentino, this man who set female hearts aflutter was nothing but a queer.
Oh, wow.
Fuck you.
There's no way of calculating how many felonies this man committed over the years
Okay.
for all of his piety," meaning like he's talking about like
Right.
sodomy.
Absolutely.
Right.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
What would have happened that night if Paul had not gotten drunk on Navarro's booze, at Navarro's urging, and at Navarro's behest? Would this have happened if Navarro had not been a seducer and traducer of young men?
Oh my God.
So just victim blaming up the wazoo.
Hate.
These men pitched themselves as sex workers and came to his house. They called him, got his address, went to his house, and then beat him. And this is, I just can't. But despite the defense's attempts to distract from the heinous nature of the crime by playing on the jury's homophobia, both brothers were sentenced to life in prison.
Good.
However, by the mid-1970s, and again, the crime took place in 1968, late 1968. So by the mid-1970s, they had both been released on parole.
Oh,
So they were in jail for like 5 minutes.
5 years,
oh
roughly.
my God.
Yeah.
That's so fucking
Yeah.
gross.
So that's a life sentence, apparently. Uh-huh.
Cool.
Don't worry, they were both eventually rearrested for unrelated crimes and sent back to prison. One of the unrelated crimes is rape.
Jesus.
So they're just pieces of shit.
Crushing it.
Paul gave an interview in 1998 in which he blamed his own internalized homophobia for beating Navarro to death. Describing the events of October 30th, 1968, he stated, quote, "I'm drinking and listening to him talk about the movies. I'm going, wow, this guy can tell some pretty good stories. But I'm getting drunk. The next thing I knew, I find myself being overwhelmed by his body and just like hairiness. And I guess being kissed or whatever the fuck it was." Remember, this guy,
They baited him.
they baited him. He had earned a living from selling sex to men
Yeah.
in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still have internalized homophobia,
Of course.
and like internal conflict around that, but like he's making it sound like
He
this
was
came out of the blue.
right.
Finishing the quote, "And I come out of that and I go, get the fuck," and boom, I walked out. So that's what happened. So of murder, I was innocent. Of manslaughter, I wasn't innocent. Even of manslaughter, maybe you could say I was innocent, but I was guilty of hitting him. I did hit him, but I did it in a drunken stupor.
Okay.
And Paul also so he makes it sound like it was one punch,
Yeah.
but like
You tortured him.
he was tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul also maintained that there was no murder weapon. He continued, quote, "I'll tell you what, I'm a boxer. When I hit you, I probably hit you 3 or 4 times. I remember standing beside this man and coming out of this heavy drunken fog and hitting him and seeing him fall on the bed. But I didn't do anything more than that. Mr. Navarro died because he was so drunk that the blood in his throat, the involuntary muscle in his throat didn't work because the alcohol suppressed it."
Oh, he's
No.
a doctor now.
Right. If he had turned his head, if he had been a little more sober, he would
If
not
you
have
hadn't
died.
punched him until he bled so hard that he choked on his own blood.
Maybe he could have turned if he wasn't tied up.
Yeah. It's just, this is absurd.
Yeah.
Absurd.
Yeah. So fuck both of these guys. Tommy, the younger brother, died by suicide in 2005. And Paul, the older brother, died in prison in 2018 while serving a 60-year sentence for rape.
Wow.
Wonder how he blamed that victim.
Right.
So Joan Didion, my hero and who I want to be reincarnated as, wrote about the Navarro murder in her influential White Album essay describing the horrific episode as, along with the Manson murders, a symbolic end to the innocence and optimism of the 1960s. So it was just one of those examples of like how Hollywood in the late 60s was actually
A nightmare.
really scary and dark, and there was a lot of violence all of a sudden that nobody was really expecting. And the house where Navarro was killed went on to have more dark history,
gosh.
very
shit.
spooky. In the 1970s, it was purchased along with much of Navarro's furniture that had been left inside by a man named Ryan Kelly, who was an obsessive fan of Navarro. So he like bought all of his belongings basically and house.
Weird. Ooh.
And then he also would like dress up like Ramon.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
He claimed that he shared the home with Navarro's ghost.
Oh.
So he's just like a real obsessive fan. And then in the late 1980s, after like a decade of this, he was murdered by his brother with a shotgun in the house.
It's Navarro being like, I'm done with
I am
this.
fucking done with you.
Get out of here.
Not that anyone should be murdered, even creepy obsessive fans, but still. So then the
Bye-bye.
house was demolished because it's
Jeez.
probably Soup's haunted.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
So I told you it would be a dark and wild
That
ride, and then there would be a lot of
was
homophobia.
wild.
That was a
Yeah,
wild
that's really
ride.
sad.
Right?
Ugh. Wow.
Yeah. So I started by Googling murdered with dildo.
Sure.
As
yep.
you do.
Thought that I had found something. Turns out I hadn't, but still
I'm
fascinating.
glad we learned about this.
I know.
Nice
Yeah.
job.
I didn't know
Wow.
anything about this guy, but he is a major gay icon and had a hard life.
And now we also know
Seriously.
who Norma Desmond is.
Right?
Oh.
Oh my God. Love
Nice
her.
job.
All right.
Good work.
There you go. Should we hear
Wow.
a quick word from our sponsors?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Everyone needs an escape here and there, of course, but at this time of year, those can be hard to come by, you know? So enter Dipsy. Let yourself get lost in a world where good things happen and where your pleasure is the only priority.
I honestly can't think of anything more important for parents during back to school time than something like Dipsy. To like
Tension,
ease,
intimacy, pleasure.
to ease your stress. Dipsy is an audio app full of short, sexy stories designed to turn you on. Each Dipsy audio story features characters that feel like real people and immersive scenarios so you feel like you're right there, which is the whole point. Listen to stories about hooking up with your hometown crush that you never made a move on, or that you ran into a table and almost knocked yourself out and kind of blew that opportunity, and then you have to go back and fantasize about it later. Too specific, but it's true. Or that coworker you always had a little thing for, or maybe a story that puts you in bed with someone who's telling you exactly what they'd like to do to you. They release new content every week, so there's always more to explore, no matter who you're into or what turns you on. And if you need to wind down, Dipsy also has wellness sessions, sensual bedtime stories, and soundscapes to help you relax before you drift off. It's literal heaven.
Also, a quick anecdote. I have a friend who told me about Dipsy like a couple of years ago. So I was well aware of this
Yeah.
before they became a sponsor. It's good, people. So for listeners of the show, Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/gals. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to dipseastories.com/GALS. One more time, that's dipsystories.com/gals. And treat your you time.
Treat it. All right, are you ready for my case?
Maybe.
I mean, mine comes with a trigger warning. So, you know,
Great.
Oh, good.
just, specifically grooming and sexual assault.
Oh,
Oh, good.
the usual.
Yeah. So, it takes a village to raise kids. But what happens when someone in your village fully betrays you?
Oh, no.
Yep. This story gives me not quite as extreme, not that it is a trauma contest in any way, shape, or form, but abducted in plain sight.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't, again, not quite as extreme, but deeply, deeply troubling. So this is the story of 16-year-old Daniel Kovarbasic. On January 22nd, 2010, Daniel's parents head into work and drop off their son with a trusted family friend, a man named Dwayne Hurley, who is considerably older than, obviously, Daniel, but even his parents. He's in his, 70s, I think, who had agreed to take Daniel to school that day. Okay. Daniel wouldn't make it to school, however, and neither would Dwayne, who within 30 minutes of Daniel's arrival was dead.
My God.
Daniel called his father, Terry, who rushed back to Dwayne's house to find his son outside in the street, in front of Dwayne's house, covered in blood. He went inside to find Dwayne in a pool of blood, which was also spattered on the walls and ceiling. Daniel told Terry that he'd killed Dwayne in self-defense, which ended up being true, but this wasn't your usual defensive response to an attack. This was much deeper and would take months to unfold.
Okay.
So Terry actually immediately took Daniel to the hospital because Daniel's covered in blood and in shock, and Terry's not even sure whose blood it is.
Yeah.
And if his son is okay. But then on their way there, Terry called 911. And, Daniel was checked out and then taken into custody so they could figure out what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
So Dwayne became a family friend 4 years earlier when Daniel was 12 years old. Dwayne was walking his dog by Daniel's school and approached Daniel to allow him to pet the pup. A few days later, Dwayne returned with an offer of $30 if Daniel would watch the dog for the afternoon, which ended up only being 10 minutes. So Daniel agrees, yeah, I'll watch your dog while I'm hanging out by the park or whatever. And Dwayne leaves and then just comes back with $30 cash. So Daniel's pumped. He's I'm 12. I just made $30.
Oh,
So
no.
he went home that day all excited. He's telling his parents oh my gosh, this guy paid me $30 to watch his dog. It was so awesome.
No.
And they were immediately what the fuck is this old dude doing giving you money?
Okay, that's good that their radar first.
Oh, immediately. So
Okay.
Terry and his wife Donna looked Dwayne up online. They checked sex offender websites and social media and found nothing, nothing suspicious, no red flags. So when Dwayne started offering Daniel money for after school work, come mow the lawn, they lived 3 blocks away. Doing odd jobs around the house. Terry and Donna agreed to it as long as they could come with Daniel to meet Dwayne. So Terry recalls, quote, Dwayne welcomed us into his home and seemed very genuine.
Yeah.
Terry and Donna would basically trade off supervising these odd jobs at Dwayne's house. So they're doing their due diligence, in my opinion.
They are, and it's so tough because it's so maybe not anymore, but it was so common to
Oh, my
be hired by your neighbors to do
I mean,
whatever.
my elderly next door neighbor Bob lives alone, and we've offered to mow his lawn. In the winter, we always plow his sidewalk, and it's just he's
But
your
you're,
neighbor.
It's what
you're
neighbors
adults,
do.
But I mean,
No,
when
I
we
know.
were kids, Lucy
yeah.
used to watch her neighbor's dog. And
Oh yeah, we would babysit for our
R.I.P.
neighbors.
Mike.
We did. Oh, we did yard work and stuff for our neighbors, or hired neighbor boys in our neighborhood all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, so it's so tough.
This would be really, really tough to navigate because this is someone who lives in your area. The parents are being very diligent. They were literally supervising Daniel's time there
Yeah,
for a year
yeah, that's
to
amazing.
establish
Actually,
trust with this guy. So they started to ease up at that point and let Daniel go over there by himself because it'd been going fine. He would come home, he'd make his money, whatever.
and he's not. I mean, he's 13. obviously you're still a child, but like I was fully babysitting at 13.
Same. Like alone in
Yeah.
neighbors' homes.
Right.
Absolutely same. So Dwayne had become part of their family, and little did they know this was exactly what Dwayne wanted. Dwayne was not only grooming Daniel, but Daniel's parents. Daniel's mother, Donna, said in an interview, quote, he'd buy me stuff. I'd say I'm out of laundry detergent and have to wait until I get paid to get detergent. And he would go out and buy detergent and bring it to me. I mean, he was a great guy. Who wouldn't like someone like this? Dwayne would test Daniel's boundaries behind the scenes in subtle ways, like not closing the door to urinate or accidentally walking in on Daniel in the restroom, accidentally in quotes.
Yep.
Joking around, quotes, about all the different ways that you can say the word penis, which is like one thing on a foreskin forensics or dick crimes episode of a podcast hosted by 3 consenting adults, but quite another in the power imbalance of this relationship.
Yeah. No, we're not grooming children.
Each other.
I don't want children to listen to this show.
No.
Oh my God. I couldn't sleep last night and I was thinking of more foreskin jokes. Because she's all foreskin still fucking kills me.
Okay, well, for context,
Foreskin gum.
Foreskin gum.
basically a very mature game of
The best
changing
game.
movie titles with one word, change one word to foreskin.
And it
what have you
devolved
got?
into Lucy and I very high for like 48 hours sending each other all of these movie titles.
Foreskin
and just
Boulevard.
12 Angry
I am
Foreskins.
the witch and the foreskin.
Oh, no.
30 Days and 30 Foreskins. Return of the Foreskin. Okay.
6
anyway.
days, 7 foreskins.
Oh, God. Anyway,
3 men in a foreskin.
back to this horrific case.
Sorry. You started it.
Oh, all right. I said foreskin. My bad. So I feel like this, all of that, not minus any of that foreskin stuff, is an important thing that it's so easily overlooked and it's like a very specific part of the grooming process. Like seemingly
Gaslighting.
innocuous jokes or behaviors, exactly, that pair with gaslighting, that's just boundary testing
Yep.
is like really what that is. And then it's coupled with other shit that this guy is doing, like trying to win over the parents. And it's just like,
It's just such classic grooming behavior.
and it's super alarming, but I feel like it could also be easy to miss.
Oh,
So,
for
you know,
sure.
just like-
I don't blame,
No.
Daniel at all for
Or his parents, frankly.
Or the parents.
right. Because
It's just, you
it's
know-
like he's doing it subtly at first to see is he gonna freak out? Is he gonna tell his parents? No, okay, then I can do it again. I can do it just a tiny bit more.
So, exactly that. Things escalated from there, and Dwayne would offer Daniel trades or rewards for showing him his genitals. If Daniel exposed himself to Dwayne, Dwayne would let him have an alcoholic drink or drive his sedan. And at this point, Daniel's like 14. So, you know, I show you my penis and you're going to let me like drive your car and drink booze? Okay.
And I'll look cool to my friends, and
Right.
they don't have to know how I was able to
Exactly.
get this. Yeah, it's just so textbook.
I know. And from there, Dwayne asked Daniel if he could touch his genitals and as a reward would let him drive his Corvette. So like bigger and bigger rewards for more and more harmful boundary crossings. And in Dwayne's own words that were relayed by Daniel, he'd offer, quote, bigger toys, bigger things. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey, Daniel explained that he kept returning to Dwayne's house because he felt ashamed, like this was all his own fault. Quote, I was the one who showed him my genitals, which started it, and he kept using that against me. If I didn't go over to Dwayne's house, he'd come find me. If I tell him no, then he was going to say something. So Dwayne was in
It's
total...
blackmail. At
It's
some
total
point.
control. Total control.
It's gaslighting and manipulation and blackmail and secrecy and shame and
All the things.
all of it.
So he's in total control of Daniel for about 4 years at this point, and anytime Daniel would tell him to stop, he would respond with threats of violence and then escalated sexual assault. And Daniel recalls 2 weeks before killing Dwayne that Daniel, fell asleep on Dwayne's couch after like doing a bunch of yard work or something and woke up to Dwayne anally raping him.
Wow.
And just to survive, just kind of pretended that he was still asleep and then like waited for it to stop and then left the home.
God.
So the altercation that pushed Daniel past his limits happened the morning of the murder. Terry had, like I said, just dropped Daniel off at Dwayne's house, and when he went inside, the two started chatting. Daniel mentioned that he was preparing a special date to celebrate him and his girlfriend's anniversary. They had been together for a year. He wanted to spell out "I love you" in red roses in the snow in front of her house and then take her out for dinner at a local Chinese restaurant.
Oh,
I know. I like went on that date.
that is so sweet. That is
It's
so
so high school
16-year-old.
first anniversary.
Yeah, I know. It really
It's so
is.
cute.
Both over the top and
Affordable.
yeah, yes. Yes.
My sister-in-law, her now husband, asked her out for the first time by coming over to their house at like fucking 4 a.m.
Ugh, okay.
and
Red
building a
flag.
snowman. Well, building a snowman in their front yard that was like asking her to prom.
Oh,
or something
that's
like
cute.
That.
Okay, I love
that's
that.
adorable. And now with Ring doorbells, that would not work.
It would never work.
No, pre-ring.
Exactly. So he tells Dwayne what his, what he wants to do, and Dwayne probed about how much this special date was going to cost and reminded Daniel that these special evenings aren't free and he needs to work to make the money to enjoy these things and blah, blah, blah. And Daniel knows exactly what the fuck Dwayne is doing in that moment. He's manipulating him, propositioning him for sex before driving him to school. And in that moment, the realization that Dwayne would never stop molesting him was just overwhelming.
Well, now Dwayne is stepping on one good thing that he has in his life that he is like proud of and looking forward to and has compartmentalized and kept separate from this abuse that he's experienced
He's
for
making
so long.
it dirty.
And
yeah, Dwayne's
now,
exploiting it to
Yeah.
get sex out of him.
right. And I could see that causing someone to snap
I mean,
in that moment.
Oh yeah,
abso-fucking-lutely.
That was like the one pure thing that he, quote unquote pure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's so sad. So he says, I didn't like the relationship, the horrible bad stuff, Daniel later testified. I told him I don't want him to touch me anymore. And he said that Dwayne responded, what do you think? I'm going to do this for you for nothing? Like pay for your date for nothing? Then Daniel reached for a pickle jar that was on a table nearby and smashed Dwayne over the head with it, knocking him down.
Whoa.
So that's my weird weapon. That's how I found this case.
Pickle jars are heavy
They're
and
thick.
dense. They really are. It's like a thicker glass.
So he gets him in the head with this pickle jar, but Dwayne got back up and lurched toward Daniel. Daniel then reached for a knife that he had in his pocket, which ironically was one of the gifts he'd been given for sexual contact with Dwayne,
Shit.
and stabbed Dwayne several times until the blade of the knife broke. Dwayne continued to advance on Daniel, who ran to the kitchen to grab another knife. When all was said and done, he'd stabbed Dwayne over 50 times. When asked if he realized he'd stabbed him that many times, Daniel replied, quote, no, I had no idea. I thought I had stabbed him maybe 17 times, he said, but I guess it was 53.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just a frenzy.
Yeah, I mean, his completely understandable, to be honest. Rage and fear and anguish had just taken over, and he was just like going and just like, like just
And
blank.
He's still coming for him.
Yeah.
So he's terrified.
I mean, yes, he hit him over the head with the pickle jar, but then at that point, I think when he realized that wasn't going to be enough
Yeah.
to like keep Dwayne away from him, and Dwayne kept advancing on him, then Daniel's like, well,
Yeah.
this is
All or
is
nothing
it.
at that point.
Yeah.
Going for broke.
So Daniel was charged with murder and faced 15 years in prison, but fortunately his charges were reduced to the lesser voluntary manslaughter and aggravated assault, given the circumstances of the situation. Daniel's parents were absolutely horrified. Quote, I was shocked that someone could get past my radar like that, Terry said. And I was angry that this person deceived my whole family. He literally just took our innocence away.
And and those poor parents, and it's just
They fucking tried.
they tried, and I'm not blaming them because
No.
it could happen to anyone, and they really did sound like they tried and did their due diligence, but like getting past people's radars like that and getting on people's good side is like what these
Oh, it's what they're skilled at
predators
doing.
are good at. Exactly.
And I guess I don't have any clue how to go about this. But really, I think the only thing as a parent that you can do, and I'm not saying that Terry and Donna didn't do this, and I have no idea what Daniel must have been going through. Like, there's so much shame that I understand why Daniel wouldn't tell them that this was happening.
Right.
And really all that you can do is just cultivate and maintain an environment in your home where your kids feel safe enough and comfortable enough to say something. Because given again, I'm not blaming Daniel. Like, this is,
No, of course
he
not.
was manipulated. So it's not his fault that he didn't tell his parents. And not but or however, but and Terry and Donna did like look into this guy in the beginning. So I have no reason to believe that if Daniel had said, okay, Dwayne's doing this weird shit when I
It
go to
sounds like
his house.
his parents would have immediately
believed
believed
him.
him.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And been on his side.
So I guess, I don't know. I really don't, I don't know the answer. It's
I think half of it is making sure that your kids, of course, feel safe to come
Mm-hmm.
and tell you anything, but at the same time understanding that kids, even kids that feel safe around their parents, might not come and tell them anything.
for sure. And our frontal lobes, not like our decision-making skills are not good.
Right. Like, I didn't tell my fucking mom tons of shit. Not like I was never abused, but
Right.
like even though she was a fantastic mother and
Mm-hmm.
like I felt very safe around her and she would have had my back if
Totally.
I needed it, I still wasn't going to tell her shit that made me uncomfortable to talk about. Mm-hmm. You know?
Totally.
I think feelings of like shame and embarrassment at that age are so fucking peaked.
Oh, I
And
know.
powerful.
Like you were embarrassed about everything.
Yeah, and
it's really hard.
You just want to, like, a main coping mechanism is to just ignore and push
Yeah, and
down.
I mean, the only solution is predators stop fucking predatoring.
Well, I was going to say the other half of it is age appropriate, but understanding that, like, that age needs to be probably younger than you want it to be, but age appropriate conversations where you explain to kids how grooming works.
Sure,
And
yeah.
what signs you need to look out for, and
Yeah, and,
what
like,
is
please
okay
tell
and what
me-
is not okay.
Please come tell me if so-and-so says or does something like this, and giving
Right.
like specific examples.
Examples.
Yeah.
Because if Daniel had been equipped with that knowledge
Mm-hmm.
at that young age of 12 or 13, he might have been able to recognize it, early on and be like, he keeps walking in on me when I'm peeing.
Totally.
And the parents be like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, there are just, I think we, again, not a parent, so I don't know. But there are so many conversations where we immediately think like, oh, I don't know if that's appropriate, or I don't know if a kid can handle having conversations about, grooming, or having conversations about, critical race theory or whatever.
Right, but
it's
then
like
a kid
kids
really
are
can't handle it when it actually happens to them, and
right,
you can't
and
control
kids are
that.
if you're openly talking about this stuff in a safe way in your home from the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
then you're normalizing those conversations. And they have no other foundation to think that that's not appropriate to talk about that stuff.
Right. I
So,
just
like,
think that
It's our discomfort that we're having a hard time getting over, not what our kids can actually handle in terms of concepts. Because we can break things down into easy to digest concepts for young children.
Right.
It's like we have to get over our own discomfort as parents because it could save people's lives.
Yeah, I just
the
think
long run.
that giving kids like those really like practical
Mm-hmm.
discussions of like, this is what abuse looks like and this is
Mm-hmm.
what grooming is, and if something like this happens and is making you uncomfortable, like, that's a real thing. And
Trust
you
your instincts. You can
trust your
talk to me about
instincts.
it.
Exactly. I think it just maybe is more effective than being like, you can tell me anything.
Right.
Which is very
Exactly.
vague. You know?
Yeah, you're not really
Mm-hmm.
arming any kids with like, what should I be even, like, what even is a red flag?
Right.
What should
and
I
like,
be looking
we
for?
do it with other things. We've started to where it's like, if a stranger
Yep,
offers
totally.
you candy,
Stranger danger.
or wants
To
to
pet
give you a
his
ride.
dog for
right,
$30.
To pet his dog, which literally how this started. But
I'd fall for it immediately.
Yeah.
But,
and just
neither here
making
nor there.
sure that like ongoing
Dialogue.
is happening
Yeah.
but I do feel like these poor parents did what they could and
They
were
did.
blindsided.
And, it's 2010 when this is happening. I think even in the last 10, 11 years, there have been very different approaches to how we openly talk about
Right.
all kinds of shit. So maybe it would be different now. Who knows? But that's just my take on it. But anyway,
Right.
So he was supposed to be detained until a juvenile facility would take him and was sent to jail for several months, but was eventually placed on house arrest when he was refused by the juvenile system due to the violence of his crime. So a lot of quote unquote juvies won't take violent offenders, even when they're underage. He was fitted with an ankle monitor and only allowed to leave his home with a parent to see his lawyer. And though he had a few bumps during his probation, I think he got into an altercation with a parole officer or something, nothing actually physical, but an argument. He managed to make some serious improvements to his mental health and overall situation. He graduated high school, he got his driver's license. I couldn't find any information on whether or not he started working or went to college. The last info I could really find was he's deciding if he wants to go to college or, vocational school or whatever he wants to do. And, we wish him the best, basically. Despite multiple appeals from the prosecution, the judge upheld his decision and stands by it, stating that, quote, if I had sent him to the penitentiary, he could have evolved into a real criminal. I completely agree that this was the right call. And also, this weighed really heavily on my heart while writing this. I just felt like I needed to acknowledge that Daniel is white and was sentenced by a white judge. And the reality is that the system could see Daniel's pain and circumstances and humanity, while black and brown children in similar circumstances are criminalized. And the case of Centoya Brown, really stuck out to me. And the added, quote unquote, complication that she was involved in sex work. She's also female and she's not white. And she was fucking charged with life in prison.
Which is absurd.
It's just absurd. And thankfully she was granted clemency, but that took some
Took a
serious
while.
And it took outcry and activism and publicity to get there.
Right.
And she never should have been given that sentence in the first place. So it's
And children can't consent to sex, so they can't consent to sex work.
no, they sure fucking can't. So, I think that the right outcomes in terms of sentencing were applied here. And I
You just
commend-
wish that they were more broadly applied to people of color.
Precisely. I feel like this is how we should be approaching cases like this for everyone and not just affluent
Right.
white children.
Right.
And yeah.
This case kind of reminds me of I watch every now and then. I think it's a good idea to watch a documentary about some serious subject matter. And I started this one without fully realizing what it was about. I think it's called What We Fear. It's about child abuse in a I think it was a private school. And it was this really popular teacher. He was the football coach, blah, blah, blah. He was very charming. Everybody liked him. He let some of his students come over to his house and drink and watch porn and all this stuff. It was the same fucking thing. And they interviewed an adult who was molested by this man. Obviously interviewed him in his adulthood, but he was molested when he was 16 maybe. And there was one part, I watched this a week ago, and it's still this one part is sticking in my brain. He was talking about on his way home from the guy's house, and he was in his car, and he kind of realized what had happened. And he thought, oh my God, I'm never going to laugh again.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Isn't that so heartbreaking?
That's one of the saddest fucking things I've ever heard in my life.
And it's
So having your innocence taken away, I can't imagine. I mean, that's just the worst thing that somebody could take from you.
Oh my God. Everybody needs therapy. Everyone.
I hope this family is doing okay now, and I don't know. Maybe as a society we can turn a corner and do better. I don't know.
Wouldn't it be amazing to see a shift like that in our lifetime?
I mean, some things have improved a little, right?
Yeah.
I'll cling to that. I'm never gonna laugh again. Fuck me.
Thanks for
It's fucking awful.
listening to this comedy.
Remember how I always
I gotta
loved
go
to
get drunk now.
blame the fan pickers, and then we get our own case, and I was like, okay, I'll hold my beer.
Never mind. I tried to Google something
Yeah.
funny, killed by dildo, and found a heartbreaking case.
I just don't think killed by fill in the blank will ever recover
Will
anything
ever be
that
funny. Yeah. And yours was pickle jar, and we just glossed right over it. Because it's like everything is so serious and sad. What are we gonna do? Stop and make pickle jokes?
No, we skipped to foreskin jokes.
Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks for listening. We apologize.
Yeah,
we
sorry.
love you and we're sorry.
See you next week. I hope you stick around.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Editing by Jonathan Camp. Check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, basically wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support and get a shout out on air, visit our Patreon page to keep this podcast and the wine flowing. Cheers.